everybody knows, the rule of life is if you're speaking, you're like a lecturer in front of a class, you can take your mask off when you're talking, okay? All right.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Allison Vogt. I am Associate Dean of Students and Deputy Title IX Coordinator here at Rice University. Just wanting to welcome you all and talk to you about our partnership with the 7 universities that we have represented here and their partnership with the Texas Forensic Nurse Examiners. So welcome. I'd like to introduce Dr. Kara Breeden. She is the director of the program.
Thank you so much, Allison. A forensic nurse is a nurse with specialized training in caring for victims of violence, such as sexual assault, domestic violence, trafficking, and even child and elder abuse. I began my forensic nursing career within a hospital-based system, and time again, I would care for victims that had gone to 2 or 3 hospital facilities only to be turned away and told that that specialized care was not provided at that organization. We feel that this service is a basic human right, and we've worked diligently with hospitals in our region to make this accessible to every victim of violence. The Forensic Center launched in 2019, and we have expanded rapidly. Currently, we provide services in 13 counties, in over 60 hospital and clinic locations. Coming from a hospital-based program, I knew that hospitals really wanted to do the right thing. But the creation and maintenance of forensic nursing programs is costly and quite cumbersome. So I set forth to make this a solution for all hospital systems. Through partnerships with hospitals like CHI St. Luke's, HCA, Oak Bend in Fort Bend County, and many others, we have created a cost-effective contractor relationship to ensure that these services can be provided within any hospital system in the region. We have always included advocacy within our organization, as it really is the glue that helps connect victims to crucial services throughout the community. As we've grown, we've noted other significant gaps that victims experience. In 2020, we added an attorney that can assist with protective orders, expungements, and really aiding that victim through the legal process. In late 2019, Jonna Stallings, who's with the DA's office, and I were dreaming of the things that we wished were available to victims of violence. We understood the complicated process they faced and hoped with time we could create a true victim service center that would allow these crucial services to all be under one roof. Jonna hoped that we could provide an adult forensic interviews to these victims so that they could share their experiences and that would be recorded and would be done by a trauma-informed professional. In January of 2020, I received a call from Jonna saying that Kim Ogg and her had decided that they were going to reallocate some grant funds so that we could start this amazing program. I, of course, said yes. We had a ton of learning to do. I had no idea what we were doing. It had never been done before, but off we went to figure out how this would work. To date, we have done over 600 adult forensic interviews in collaboration with over 25 law enforcement agencies. Providing a safe space for victims to talk about what has happened to them is the first step in their healing, but also assists in building trust within the system itself. Rice University was one of our early partners. We knew that college campus students were among the highest statistically to experience sexual assault, and we were excited to work together to ensure that college students had options when seeking services after experiencing sexual assault. The Forensic Center can go to campus clinics to provide these exams, but they can also come to our quiet, safe, secure location at our home office or any of our other clinics throughout the region. In the fall of 2020, I received a call from 2 very ambitious students, Isaiah and Jack, who wanted to make sure that their fellow classmates had access to sexual assault services. Through their work and other collaborative efforts, we are excited about collaborating with campuses such as Rice, Texas Southern University, Houston Community College, Prairie View A&M, South Texas College of Law, Lee College, and the University of Houston. Together, we can work towards ensuring that college students have access to these critical services in a timely and trauma-informed manner. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Dr. Breeden, for an excellent rendition of what's happened. Let me take you back a little bit farther. In 1962, my mother, Connie Ogg, was the victim of a serial rapist who kidnapped her in downtown Houston and drove off fully intending to rape and murder her. How did she know that? He told her so. She was able to jump out of his moving car, and she saved her own life. There were no trauma-informed victim services for rape victims or intended sexual assault victims back then. When I became a prosecutor in 1987, the Mesozoic period, let me say, there were still very, very few services for sexual assault victims. And we had changed the terms. It was no longer rape victims, it was sexual assault victims. Let me say, this is one of the most traumatic crimes, in my experience as a prosecutor, that a crime victim can endure. It has lasting impact not only on the crime victim or survivor, but on their family. There's a reason that I wanted to become the district attorney of Harris County, the third most populous community in America. And that was to bring reform to many parts of our criminal justice system, not the least of which were crime victims and the way we treated and served them. And so in furtherance of that, I learned about a program called Texas F&E when I first became the DA. I also learned that not all hospitals had sane nurses, trained professionals. Even still, cops continued to interview victims when victims had the courage to report. This is a difficult personal invasion that's impossible if you haven't experienced it, I think, to truly understand it. But anything I felt that we could do that would improve that would be great. So I met Dr. Breeden and began the conversation of how they worked and watching the cases that came in that were handled by Texas F&E, and the evidence was better. It was sounder. But the fact that we still had forensic interviews of these most sensitive topics being handled by policemen who were not necessarily trained was a gap in the system. So we took forfeiture funds. What are those? Those are instruments of a crime left behind or seized from a criminal by law enforcement, lawfully forfeited in the courts after due process, and we reinvested those funds. And if you could hand me the check that's right behind you.
The big one. The big one. The big
That's funny. He's looking for a check. Here's the check. Thank you. So we, through Ms. Stallings, our chief prosecutor of the sex crimes division, and Denise Onken, bureau chief over special victims, we took the people's money and reinvested it in our victims by helping, through this money, give Texas F&E the opportunity to train, hire, and utilize forensic interviewers, not policemen.
Thank you so much.
Now, how did this program start to involve all these other universities? Well, Dr. Breeden is right. Rice has always been on the forefront of addressing sexual assault, student issues, trying to raise awareness. But I know that all of the universities have done their part, all of the colleges, because as administrators of large institutions, especially that handle our children's safety, they have to be proactive. So when these universities and institutions heard about Texas F&E, I think it was a win-win. So how did they hear about it? This is the most hopeful part of the program to me. Isaiah Martin, a student at University of Houston, a friend of my son's, Jack Jordan, came to me with Jack and talked to me about some information that they had come across with their friends and in their life on campus and elsewhere talking to people about sexual assault victims who needed more specific information on campuses delivered by the universities, but for the students. I love that idea. But I'm torn between many, many different interests and things that need improvement in our justice system. So I asked the young men, why don't you go meet Dr. Breeden? Why don't you work with Jonna Stallings and see what you can do for students? And they did. And so anytime that you have a program that is as organic as that, built and created from need of young people, where other young people are helping solve those problems, and I'm just so proud of you, Isaiah and Jack. Anytime we have a professional like Dr. Breeden who's thinking outside the box, how can we fix things, not who can we blame, and we have universities willing to participate, that's a win-win. So, congratulations, everyone, on our program, and I will turn it over to the next speaker, who is Megan Hilliard. Megan?
So standing here is definitely a chance I never believed I would get. It hasn't even been until recently that I was actually thanked for sharing my story as a victim of sexual assault. You'd think a simple thank you, or a statement of bravery, or even a platitude of kindness would be something you'd expect a victim to receive, but so rarely in my experience is this what we are met with. Now, a story can get told many different ways, but as a survivor, I know my assault is not just a story. It's a part of my life and a part of now who I have to be. A part that until today, I didn't think would bring the impact I wish I could. I always fought for justice, and I always told my story, in hopes that one day women would not have to endure what I went through, that victims would not have to search for resources, they would not have to grasp to find someone who cares. And no victim would ever be met with unkind words, hands, or actions when they finally decided they couldn't keep living life like it didn't happen to them. I know for myself I tried to do that. I tried to go on and convince myself I would be okay, until I wasn't. Today, that fight is worthwhile. Today, I know that sharing my story has created a tangible outcome, one that even though I didn't have, I am forever grateful this was able to become possible for anyone in the coming future.
Hello, guys. I just want to thank everyone here, along with the universities, the DA's office, and Texas F&E. This is a really just awesome thing we did, but this is just the first step. The next step is taking this statewide and, if possible, nationwide. Isaiah and I, when we started this, our goal was to help as many people as possible and to make sure that their voices were heard, and that's what we will continue to do. Thank you.
You know, it's 1 year later after, having this dream with Jack Jordan. It's really humbling to see everyone here today. D.A. Ogg, Dr. Breeden, Jack Jordan, Ms. Stallings, students, Rice University, and my friends. My name is Isaiah Martin, and I am the former For the Students president at the University of Houston. And I must say, it is truly my honor of my life to stand here today with you. 1 year ago, we promised sexual assault reform to our students, and naturally that begs the question, what exactly does that mean? More than a quarter of college women and 7% of college men at some point during their schooling experience a sexual assault. That's staggering. Now see, look, pay attention to this, but what makes that number so eye-popping is that that number is not exactly accurate, as most sexual assaults go unreported. In some demographics, for every instance that is reported, 15 remain unreported. I mean, think about that. only 1 in 16 sexual assaults actually get dealt with. That's a number that's far too large to be accepted. Many might ask, why did I personally invest so much time into this issue? I mean, I'm not exactly in the demographic that is considered high risk. As I walk down the street at night, pump gas in a not-so-secure area, or go to a bathroom alone, getting sexually assaulted is honestly not something that I really think about on a daily basis. To be honest with you, when I first got to college, the extent of sexual assault on college campuses wasn't really something that ever crossed my mind. So why did I want to get involved? And I don't really tell people this, and I haven't told anyone. But to be honest, a few years ago, someone really close in my life experienced a very traumatic experience. And following this day, every day, I saw her life change forever. I remember the feeling of aloneness that she had, the feeling that no one supported her. I saw this pain rip through her like a knife through butter, and I felt like something had to be done for this issue. For the first time in my life, I felt completely helpless. She wished that there was a way to find support, but none at the time existed. It was at that point that I felt like something had to be done. I felt like we must do everything I could to change this issue. You see, every figure that you see on this, every decimal point in a percentage, every place on a ranking represents a real person with their own story, their own family, and their own future. I know a lot of times we get caught up in the emotionlessness of numbers, but we really forget how much change can truly affect someone's lives. It was 1 year ago I called my friend Jack Jordan, one of my closest friends, I call him my brother, to tell him about this frustration. We talked about this together, and I've indeed continued to feel helpless. And I remember after a long pause and that voice that only Jack Jordan can make, he said, "We will bring change." And 1 year later, we are standing here on Rice University's campus to announce the introduction of the Student Sexual Assault Full Support Prevention Partnership, the most comprehensive program ever for victims of sexual assault on college campuses. Now, what exactly makes this program so special? I mean, think about it. There's 143 different four-year universities in Texas, along with 63 community colleges that make up our state's framework for higher learning. But of all those schools, our county now boasts the only program created specifically by survivors for survivors. To build this, we hosted many focus groups hosted by Megan Hilliard, whose bravery you guys just heard of. And these focus groups included every possible demographics on our campus, because we believe everyone's voice should be heard. White students, black students, Hispanic students, gay students, trans students, every student that you can think of, Democrats, Republicans, it doesn't matter. We wanted to hear from them. So we created this program using our years, a program that now includes free access to tailor-made responses, sexual assault examinations, assistance with transport, a hotline, community-led support groups, and future prevention seminars, all without adding a single penny towards tuition costs. As I stand here today, I really cannot say thank you enough to our amazing District Attorney, Kim Ogg, who really, and her entire office, especially Ms. Stallings and Ms. Anna Carpenter. If you want to know why DA Ogg is the best DA in the country, it's because she listens to the community. It wasn't never no, we can't, but it was instead yes, we can, and for that, I think we should give her a round of applause. To Ms. Stallings and Ms. Carpenter, you took this initiative and turned the wheels of the wagon. 119,184 college students now have access to a more brighter and more supportive future. For that, I say we give you a round of applause. To Dr. Breeden and Texas F&E, it was your brainchild that will ultimately be the engine that delivers the care that directly to survivors. I thank you for your consistent passion and hard work on bringing Harris County together for this partnership. To the 7 schools, this is for you. To the 119,000 college students, this is for you. To the 26% of women and 7% of men, this is for you. And to the 15 out of 16 survivors that go unreported, this program is for you. Because today and every day we stand with our survivors as we cross that bridge to a brighter tomorrow. We must keep building that bridge so that no survivor ever feels alone again, so that no survivor doesn't know where to go again, so that no survivor ever feels hopeless again, so that we are building that bridge today by creating this partnership and showing every survivor that their university has their back. Thank you very much, and God bless each and every one of you.
Thank you, Isaiah. That was truly inspiring. Thank you to everyone else for being here today. My name is Anna Carpenter, and I am the coordinator of the Community Engagement Department in the Harris County District Attorney's Office. And with that and all the explanations given, if there are any questions, we will take them now.
Would you introduce the other?
Oh, absolutely. So we have representing the other universities. Not all of the representatives could be here just because of the quick turnaround time, but we do, of course, everybody knows Dr. Kara Breeden, who is the founder of Texas FNE. And we have, if you don't mind, I don't want to butcher your names or mess them up, so if you don't mind introducing yourself.
Sure. I'm Nakia Hansen. I'm from Prairie View A&M University.
Patrick Wood from Houston Community College.
Tony Sanchez Benoit, University of Houston.
Richard Anthony Baker, Rice University.
Thank you. Let's give them.
So we'll take any questions now.
I'd like to ask the District Attorney Office. What is this?
I can't hear you.
Yeah.
Is it me?
Yes. What is so important this program, just not for your office, just for all these institutions, and what is the next step on this special program?
It's important in terms of not just public policy, but put a face and a name with the statistics, just like these young men encouraged you to. It's important to have a proactive program that provides people information. That really is power for victims, knowing that there is a place to call where they can get an examination that is victim-centric, that is trauma-informed, that is done by professionals who are trained and certified to do just that, examine rape victims. It's important for them to know that there will be somebody to interview them other than a policeman. You know, those of us in law enforcement put up pretty tough walls and can be kind of gruff, according to many, many victims. And I think it's very important that we have trained professionals who look and sound and can relate with victims more. And so these are the types of not just awareness, but direct services that universities and institutions of higher education must have available, because you are our children's homes, and at least for 4 years, sometimes more. And you are held accountable for so many things that are beyond just education. And so by pairing up with professionals in healthcare and in prosecution, law enforcement, I think that makes for sound public policy. Next step, more awareness. Their universities are going to put out information about this full support sexual assault prevention partnership. One last thing. In a time when our country is divided on every issue, it seems, I hope that this is one there is no disagreement about. So, thank you all. Other questions?
There's several reasons for that. One, the sooner that we can connect with victims and start providing services, whether it's advocacy and making sure that simple things are managed. Do they had food? Do they need a blanket? What do they need in that moment? So that's always our first step with any victim of trauma. But as we talk about sexual assault specifically, we have a 120-hour window in the state of Texas. 2 years ago, they expanded that, which was a huge win for our state. And so we have 120 hours where we can collect physical DNA evidence from a victim of sexual violence. Now, I want to say that even when victims are outside of that 120-hour window, they still have medical issues that they should be seen for. So sometimes victims aren't ready in that 120 hours. Sometimes they can't get themselves out of bed and they haven't processed what's happened to them. And if they show up 2 weeks later, we're still going to see them. They still have concerns for sexually transmitted infections. They still need to be connected into counseling and other trauma services. They still need a trauma-informed interview if that's legal process is what they've decided to do. So just because a victim doesn't hit our doors within 120 hours, every victim of sexual assault, domestic violence, any type of violence, we don't have a clock. You know, we always want to make sure we're there for those victims. 120 hours or less or more is always our goal.
I'm thinking about the support that the victims receive. All this kind of support is free, talking about everything that they just have to pass?
Yeah, absolutely free. We are a nonprofit organization. Everything we do, every service we provide to a victim is 100% free. The medications we provide them are free. The testing that we do, the nursing care, we have 10 full-time forensic nurses. We have 2 full-time forensic interviews. All of that service that is accessible to any community member in this region, all of those services are free. This funding specifically is going to fund our forensic interviewing program for the next year. This is a year of funding for the interview program specifically. The nursing side, our advocate, our administrative staff, all of that is funded through our contractor relationships with our hospital. The OAG has funding that we are able to apply for and receive on behalf of sexual assault victims when we do those exams. But again, the patient never sees that bill. It goes straight to the governor's office. So through a combination of those fundings, different funders that have been supportive of our organization, we're able to provide all of these services to victims absolutely free.
Can you talk about the accessibility of this program? Will you always use the campuses on call, or how is that going to work?
Every campus is going to work a little differently. Some campuses have a clinic on site, and so we've worked out agreements that we can go physically into their clinic space. Some don't have a clinic, or maybe they have hours that aren't always conducive for when a victim might need an exam. So in those situations, we have funding that if a patient might not have transportation services, we can actually pay for them to come to our office. Our home office is at Richmond and Kirby, and we have a clinic there. So essentially, anyone that, any campus that does not have a clinic on site, we will provide services either in one of our partnered hospital locations or one of our partnered clinic locations.
Yeah, just this one stream of funding. This is not what it costs to run Texas F&E, and this is just a small reinvestment from criminal forfeiture funds to improve evidence collection in criminal cases by trained professionals who are objective, who are not part of the police department, not part of our agency, but to ensure better statements, more trauma-informed statements, just like collection of evidence. That too is evidence, and it improves prosecution. And we hope that through improved prosecution, we can improve reporting by giving crime victims, Megan, hope. You know, we know that the university has a 10:30 deadline, and I think we're past that. We were joined by an individual. Great. Well, welcome, Bobby Brown from TSU. We thank you for being part of the program. And I just ask if the press has further questions, you have the availability of these university representatives. I'll stay, Anna will stay, and we'll give Rice University their room back. Thank you, Rice University.